Have you ever been just going about your day feeling completely fine when seemingly out of nowhere, some random and usually completely unfounded worry just pops into your brain and refuses to leave? This is something that I have struggled with as long as I can remember, and I know I'm not alone because this tendency to create problems even when things are going well is actually surprisingly common. In psychology, we call this catastrophizing or negative rumination, and it can be a major source of anxiety and stress. But why do we put ourselves through this? Well, that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And even more importantly, we'll also talk about some very simple ways that we can start to break this exhausting habit and stop inventing problems in our life that do not need to be there. But first, if you're new here, my name's Nina, and this channel is all about letting go of the mindsets that keep us from living our best life and overcoming self-sabotage. And the mental habit that we're talking about today is definitely something that causes us a lot of unnecessary suffering. So let's go ahead and jump right into the fascinating psychology behind why we tend to create problems and drama for ourselves, even when things seem good. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is our brain's negativity bias. Our brains are wired for survival as their first priority, and that means we have a built-in negativity bias. If we think about our ancestors, we can see that those who were constantly on the lookout for threats did in actuality live longer. So back in the day, this negativity served them well, but in today's modern world, it just leads us to blow even minor issues completely out of proportion. So I think this is likely the origin of this tendency, but I actually think that there are less obvious reasons that affect us a lot more. One that might surprise you is that sometimes we've actually become accustomed to a certain level of drama in our life. When this is the case and things seem a little too calm, it can feel unsettling or even suspicious to us. So we may subconsciously start to create problems because we're just so used to them being there. It's almost like the absence of drama becomes a problem because our brain doesn't know what to do when there isn't one. Now, believe it or not, another reason can be the need for purpose, but there's more to the story. Sometimes when our lives feel uneventful, our minds actually crave purpose and meaning. So when this happens, we may actually start to seek out problems without realizing it because they create a sense of urgency and drama and give us something to focus on. Also, when we are feeling bored or understimulated, we just have more time and mental space to ruminate and to think about things that bother us that can eventually cause us to start to worry. Now, another reason can be low self-esteem. When we struggle in this area, we are much more likely to create problems for ourselves, especially if deep down we don't believe that we deserve happiness or success. If things are going well in our lives, but we don't think that good things can ever happen to us, we may start to subconsciously sabotage ourselves by anticipating problems or just convincing ourselves that there are always things that we need to be anxious about and that we need to find them. Unfortunately, sometimes when we do struggle with self-esteem, we can consistently look for things to make sure that we are never happy. Another reason that has been really challenging for me personally is perfectionism. The relentless pursuit of perfection can absolutely lead to problem-creating tendencies because we set impossibly high standards for ourselves and others, and any deviation from these standards can feel like a major issue. We can torture ourselves by obsessing over things that other people wouldn't even notice or care about, and cause ourselves to worry about things that we've completely blown out of proportion. Another huge reason can be difficulty with uncertainty. Many of us struggle with this and crave a sense of control, especially in the world that we are living in today. By trying to uncover potential future problems, we can actually feel like we are taking a proactive approach, even if the problems themselves are entirely imaginary or just highly unlikely. It's almost like we're trying to figure out what we're going to need to worry about in the future so we can somehow get a head start on that anxiety. It's awful, it doesn't make any sense, but this is something that I have definitely been guilty of. So if any of these reasons sound familiar, let me know in the comments because I don't think I'm alone here. But please also know that we are not doomed to be problem inventors forever. So let's go ahead and talk about some simple ways that we can learn to break this habit and cultivate a more positive outlook. One of the most important steps we can take is to practice mindfulness. Just spend some time each day focusing on the present moment instead of catastrophizing about the future or past. Things like meditating or simply spending time in nature can help us to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings. And by recognizing our negative thought patterns early on, we can learn to stop them before they begin to spiral out of control. Something else that we can do is to challenge our assumptions. When a negative thought pops into our brain, we can't just accept it as truth. We need to ask ourselves if it is based on evidence or just worst case scenario thinking. We have to learn to question these worries and assumptions and then reframe them in a more positive light. And if this is something that you'd like to know a little bit more information about, I have several videos that talk about exactly how to do this that I will link in the description box below. Now, another thing we can do is to focus on real challenges instead. Life already throws us enough curveballs without inventing extra ones. It may not sound appealing, but if we do start to shift our attention to the genuine concerns in our life that require our attention, we're actually going to start to feel a lot better because making progress in these areas actually boosts our sense of accomplishment and our sense of control. Something else that can be extremely helpful here is to start to practice gratitude. Just taking time to appreciate the good things in our life has been shown to counteract our negativity bias. And there are so many easy ways we can do this. We can start a gratitude journal, or we can just take a few moments when we first wake up or last thing in the evening to reflect on the things that we are grateful for. This little tiny shift can dramatically change our mindset. But really, just having the awareness that we have the tendency to invent problems is one of the biggest steps. This is because we can learn to anticipate this behavior and have a toolkit of strategies ready to help pull us back into reality and stop torturing ourselves. And like I said earlier, I have a whole bunch of videos that I will link down below that can help us learn to challenge our negative thoughts if you need further support. So as always, I truly hope you found today's video to be relatable and insightful. And if you did, please like it, share it, and definitely become a subscriber if you weren't one already. I would love it if you stayed connected. I look forward to reading your comments, and I hope the rest of your day is extraordinary.